Howdy folks, here we are at the Miles Through Time Museum. It's kind of an interesting place down in Georgia that until recently I did not know existed, honestly. There are a lot of other things in this museum. Of course, you can purchase things in this area, all kinds of stuff for sale. You can get your tickets, you can go in and see whatever, all kinds of things. And then, of course, the museum is not all, but largely vehicles. As I said, all manner of things in here. But this is not the main portion of the museum. Look at the rear wheel on this one. Here on the left, you can see it's all broken off. I don't think it was the one used in Ben-Hur, though. Entirely different type of carriage than a chariot. So, how about some Model Ts? These are kind of interesting cars, and I've never actually gotten to drive one. So maybe someday. If you've got one and you're willing to let me drive it, let me know. Not all of the cars here are owned by the museum. In fact, the majority of the cars are, they call it commission, but they're loaned to the museum. Now this is just here so you can see the various parts of a Model T. Has everything labeled and whatnot on here, which is kind of cool. You can see there are design cues that our modern cars take from these, but not all. And it's not exactly the same. Now, not all of the cars in here are pristine, beautiful examples. This one, for example, could be in better condition. And this one's in pretty horrific condition, I suppose. But still, it could be restored. It just may not be the owner's intent at this point in time, at least. Some really nice cars over here. It's really interesting to see how cars used to be if you hadn't seen them to this point. There was an entirely different attitude then to creating cars than there is now. Again, not everything in here is cars. That's kind of nice. Now, in the bed of this pickup truck, you can see the bicycle here, not just the Coca-Cola. You can see the bicycle. Obviously, the bicycle is much newer. Not brand new, it has been ridden apparently. Now that top on the truck is made of leather, just in case you're wondering. I understand the look do not touch on the other vehicle, but this one is not in nearly that condition. Another beautiful car here. Some nice gas pumps. You can use those after eating too many beans, I guess. No, just kidding. That is a very nice car. Interesting piece on the running board there. Eventually there will be no more pay phones. Obviously switchboards are long since gone. There's a newer pay phone up there. You know, obviously a two-piece phone. You know, these older phones are long, long gone. Wouldn't mind driving a Model A either, I suppose. Old jukebox. This museum is not only about cars, they also want it to be a place for education, which is the occasion for some of the other things you see in this museum. So earlier we saw the 4-door, this is the 2-door. Even that one's interesting to see. Could be restored, but I guess not at this point in time that that'll happen. Now over here on the right, we'll get to that. I've never been a fan of the woody vehicles. Alright, here we go. I like this little guy here. That is funny. Whoever built that was very creative. Spark plug fingers. Yeah, plug wire here. Old TV. Old train there. A very old horseless carriage here. Obviously a conversion. And then this wooden car. So obviously not something that's powered. I suppose you can steer it. Buick used to really have some excellent engines and things, and now it's just a different body with the same engine for the most part. It's very sad. Used to be different divisions of GM had different engines. Nope. It's really pretty much gone. Some nice cars there. Alrighty, and look at that. Let's see what we have here. Gotta love the little server there with the drinks on it. Hot rod here. You can see the likeness between like the hot rod and the little downhill derbies and just married. There's a Studebaker. Ford Custom Line, okay. Lots of little cars and things over here. This one's a Studebaker, surely. Yes, Champion. I've never owned a Studebaker. Oh, or a Packard either, for that matter. And some of these brands, I think, turned into other brands over time. Well, here we have a Fiero GT, an 88 Fiero GT. It's a fairly nice example. Obviously on consignment. I believe this was the only Pontiac. I'm trying to remember if I saw any other Pontiacs in there at the time. And you see how the wing's all nice and straight on this Fiero. There aren't chips around the windshield. I don't really remember any crazing in the glass on the side, so look at that. Max, yep. Original and restored. Now this is a Dodge Suburban. Now you know GMC and then Chevy and GMC and Chevy and GMC, or sorry, Plymouth Suburban. They made Suburbans, but apparently Plymouth did also. It isn't often anymore to see like that kind of crossover between brands. I've driven a Ford Galaxy, but it's been a while. And was it a cop car? I'm trying to remember. It might have been. Of course, I may just be remembering from some movie. You know, some of these you drive enough cars after a while, you don't remember them all anymore. And this is one of Ed Bolian's contributions. It has a unique paint job on it. So yeah, if you're familiar with his stuff, he has a lot of unique vehicles in many ways. And would you believe it? Right next to it is another one of Ed Bolian's contributions. And it has its own interesting things. Now there are reasons for these to be in here. I mean, obviously, you know, as much as any other vehicle in here, I suppose. Lots of things to see. It's a wonderful Ford Pinto wagon. I guess it's obviously a custom job, a little bit of a dragster kind of thing. Vote that one most likely to catch on fire. But no, actually, my family owned a couple of those, and there were no fires. Some interesting things on the ceiling there, on the walls. All right, and then we have NASCAR over here. This would be a lower tier series. Oh, I forgot yet. A couple things there. All right, let's see. Obviously, there are other people in the museum, so I'm not trying to be obtrusive in their way. I have never before seen one of these French vehicles, at least not to my knowledge, and considering I think there were only 3 in the U.S. or something, not really something you're going to see every day. Another AMX. I love that curved rear window on this one. Alright, what have we back here? And next to that, the Stingray. I hadn't really thought of that as a T-top, but as I was saying, on this Mattis M4 or whatever it is, yeah, this is a fairly rare vehicle. I'm just getting some video you may not have seen, since you likely haven't seen many of these. And everyone's seen a Cadillac before. And everyone's seen a Ford pickup before. This is a 4x4, I believe. On that go-kart. Yep, it's a 4x4. Alright. A lot of people, when they think of a Jeep, something like this is what they think of. You know, an International Scout. This one's in very good condition. But I remember these. There used to be a lot of them on the road. And of course, you know, the Jeeps and the Internationals look very similar. This is a prototype. It's a buck, actually. It's not drivable. It's not finished. You ask me, it's hideous. It looks like an electric car. Obviously, it did not take. Cars and various things over here. And this monstrosity. Now that car is owned by the owner of the museum. He says it's just like 6.5 feet wide, but good golly is it long. I don't know where you could park that thing in a mall or anywhere. Yeah, that tail just goes on forever and ever. My truck doesn't stick out that far. I forgot to get a little better shot of the top on this M for whatever it is, Mattis. That rear window on that. I still don't see the T-tops on the Corvette. Maybe I'm missing something. Oh, there's the cut there. Okay. Good job at the top. Alright. And then we have the Bug-Eye Sprite. If you've never driven these are hilarious to drive. I would love to drive one again. This guy's got a big old smile like he just stepped out of Cars or something. It's hilarious. You know, always puts a smile on your face driving one of those. And the GT350 here. It's a pretty awesome car to drive, but not for everyone. A GT500, sorry. And some Porsches over here. There's one ugly black Cadillac here. I'm just not into the slanted backs. It just doesn't do it for me. I don't know why I have that. The camera really does not pick up neon lights well. Alright, I have some bikes over here. We saw this Porsche. Now, there are a number of nice things up here on the rack. And then over here, a 944 Porsche. I've driven the newer version, not this version. If you have one you want to let me drive, I'd love to drive it. That particular one has no engine in it. I've also never driven a VW Bug. Again, if you have one you'd be willing to let me drive, I'd love to drive it. Now the 1970s style bug, not the more recent style. A GT500, so you have this one, the one down on the floor, so an older and newer version. They don't want you on the turnstile, so that's alright. Guided Missiles School. Little Chevy here. Staff car. And what is this? A Studebaker Weasel, I believe? Yes. Who knew? And I didn't see it, but I have been assured it does still drive. I do remember the Ford Festiva. Supposedly they got excellent fuel economy. I really couldn't say. It was not my favorite car. We'll go with that. Alrighty, and everyone's familiar with the Willys Jeep. You can see how these were set up. And yeah, so the Jeep went through some interesting transitions, I guess you'd call them. And there's a VW thingy. It's not my cup of tea, I guess. And this says, it's got the Audi logo, but it says it's something else. It is another ugly vehicle. And then we have, some of these Japanese cars over here. Alright, so moving on to the Mustangs. This color looks really, really nice. That exterior color, yellow on there on the seats. Yeah, Shelby GTs are nice. Now there was a car, I don't know if it was a Fiat or an old Mini Cooper out in the parking lot when I arrived. And I meant to get video of it, but somehow it escaped me. Yeah, everyone's seen these kinds of cars before. Popularized in various videos. That plane was interesting. You can see light coming through the translucent wings there. Alright, just some views I may not have gotten earlier. I want to make sure to see what there was to see. And that yellow Fiero was driven there by somebody else. I think this truck has a bit of a radiator leak. What do you think? And this is not going anywhere. Alright, and of course, gotta get the bug in this bus, which was used in a movie. It was very unique because you can steer it in the front, but also modified for the movie allows you to steer it in the rear while facing backward. So pretty cool. You'll have to watch the movie when it comes out. See if we can get the top of that later. Alright, I have a fire truck. And this airplane that they're trying to not let fly. I guess it would seem that they could have put weight inside it just as easily to hold it down, but whatever. And here's the top for that bus. If someone would be willing to help them lift this up on there, you know, some forklift or something, that probably would be appreciated. And more views of the bus. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.